Good morning, sixth graders, and happy almost Friday. If you were at this station, it is because you did a fantastic job with your essay on that last MLQ. But there were a few things that happened that showed maybe you didn't totally understand what the prompt was asking you to do. So we're going to go over that right now. So the prompt was write an essay explaining how and why the narrator responds to her first conversation with Isabel in the story. Use details from the story to support your response. So I read this and I know that my prompt is asking me to do two things. The first thing it wants to know is how the narrator responds to that first conversation her and Isabel have. So I'm going to go ahead and underline, and I know that that's the first thing I need to do. Now go ahead and do the same thing with the second thing you will need to do. Awesome. So you also need to explain why the narrator responded this way. So when we are being asked, like anytime a task that is going to require evidence, we know we can break up our prompt into what? Right, we can break these up into two rage responses. So I know that the first rage paragraph I'm going to have to write is going to answer the question, how does the narrator respond to her first conversation with Isabel? So go ahead and copy that down. Great. And then now once you have that written down, go ahead and figure out what is the second rage question you are going to have to answer and put it down in the template for the second paragraph. Unpause when you're done. Great. So now we know that while this is an essay question, because it really only asked us to do two things, we only have to write two paragraphs. It is going to be a two-part rage paragraph. Huge shout out to those of you that did write more. A lot of students had introduction paragraphs and conclusions. Today we're just going to focus on these two things. Sorry. Okay. So now, because I know that we are trying to focus on how the narrator responds to her first conversation with Isabel, I know that I need to find the part in the story where I see the narrator having that first conversation with Isabel. So go ahead and find in the text where this first conversation between our narrator and Isabel happens. Right, so that is in paragraph 13 where it starts, because that is when she says hello. So going from paragraph 13 on is really the stuff we're going to be looking at here. So what I want you to do right now is complete your rage response. How does the narrator respond to her first conversation with Isabel? You need to look at their conversation and see, what is our narrator doing here? What does that conversation look like? Complete that rage. Great. So now that you have done the first rage, take a look at the second question. Why does the narrator respond to her first conversation with Isabel this way? So based off of what you wrote for your first rage paragraph, now you want to take a look at your answer, and think, okay, whatever it was that our narrator did, either was she really nice, was she really friendly, did, whatever happened, why would she respond to her that way? So that's when whenever we're asking why about characters, why a character would do something, that's when we pull on our background knowledge about a character and whatever else we've learned about them so far in our passage. So that's where you're going to try and go through the text before this and think, okay, what do I know about my narrator that tells me why she would be like this with Isabel? So go ahead and complete that second rage paragraph. When you are done, take out your independent reading book.